welcome to TalkNado. I'm Tom Dignan, and today we are here with a very good friend of mine, Pat McGann, who I was going to say is this is a great friend.
Don't know his name.
Pat McGann.
No,
redo it. That was great. This is comedy, folks.
Do it live.
All right, now we're rolling with it now. This is Pat. You said it's McGann.
McGann.
It's pronounced McGann.
You wouldn't know that from my the sticker I got at the...
Which was McCann.
Yeah, right.
Great friends from high school. Pat McGann is here with us today. He is a professional stand-up comedian. Now, a lot of people hear that and they think, oh, like you're a funny guy and all this stuff. But you have quit the real grind and you're a stand-up comedian. Tell me how this starts.
Well, I started by just going to open mics. I was always kind of, funny, not any funnier than a lot of my buddies, and but I always loved comedy. So I was I had a career at a sales job, and I started kind of messing around in Chicago, going to open mics, and from there I just stuck with it, and I got a couple breaks. I showcased at Zany's Comedy Club, and then they invited me to be the house MC at the club, and that was like a year in, and then fast forward like 2 more years, I quit my day job, and I've been at it ever since.
Was there ever, like a talent scout or an agent or somebody who came to you at one of these open mic nights and says, you have something here?
Well, early on I showcased for a late night show, and I got some good feedback, but then the guy found out I'd only been doing it for like a year, so he kind of backed off because he knew I wasn't near ready, but just getting good feedback, getting opportunities, it just reinforced it enough that I felt like, okay, I'm progressing. And that was kind of the thing. Like when I wasn't married at the time, but I was dating who is now my wife, and it was kind of like, I'm just going to stick with it if every year it just gets
a little better.
Now,
what do you mean by a showcase? Is that a set? Is that you get your own show? What do you mean by
showcase? A showcase is like when the club like kind of books something for a booker. So the booker's there that night, being a late night booker, he's in the back of the room, and then the club showcases a lot of local talent.
Gotcha.
So a showcase is typically like 8 to 10 comedians.
It's like a talent show.
Like a talent show, but it's called a showcase.
Okay, could it be a talent showcase? I mean,
it is.
We'll just go with whatever.
It could be whatever you want it to be.
Okay, so what, were you nervous making that decision, telling your wife, okay, I think I'm going to do this, full time, or was this something that you were doing well enough that you were comfortable saying,
I was
think
nervous.
I can do this as a job?
Was nervous because it was like, when you tell somebody what you want to do, like a dream of yours, you're always kind of like, it was a pipe dream at that point. So it's I was kind of like, I confided in her that I wanted to do that.
Right.
Because you're so nervous about people being like, why do you think you can do that?
Right.
So she was actually the one that really encouraged me. I was nervous because I had never been on stage before. I never did any theater growing up, was never in like the school play, so just being on stage was something that was new to me. I had been writing for a while, just funny stuff. Thought about maybe one day I could write a screenplay or writing like sketch stuff, like just based off watching Saturday Night Live, like growing up watching that. And then it was like, you know what? I wrote all this stuff. I don't know how to be a writer. Like there's not a lot of writing opportunities in Chicago, so I thought maybe stand-up would be the way to showcase it.
And so, there is that vulnerability with stand-up comedy because there's so many people who think, well, I'm funny, or this guy's funny, or that guy's funny. So, those first times you're going on stage, what did you do to prep yourself? You practice in front of a mirror? Because it's different than when you have a live audience.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. I didn't even know how to practice. So, yeah, I probably was doing it like in a mirror or walking around my condo at the time, and I would go on walks and just try and like commit it to memory, because the first time I did do it, I went and like scouted out some open mics in Chicago, and I found a place where I thought this is pretty similar to a comedy club. The way it was set up, they had the big lights and the intimate seating. So anyway, that was a place I decided I'm going to do it here the first time, and then I went up there and those lights are on, and I couldn't see anything. And there was just such a disconnect with the crowd, and I completely forgot. Like I did like my first minute. I was supposed to do like 5 minutes. I did my first minute, and then I kind of like blanked out a little bit.
So what'd you do?
I got back on track, but I wasn't comfortable at all. Like when you first start stand-up, your material is like your safety. You really cling to it, and it's only after doing it like for years that you can step out of your material, and now I can go up and I can just talk to the crowd for a little bit and mess with just whatever comes up, and then I could go back into my material. But at that time, it was, you just have to know your stuff really cold when you're first starting.
Was there somebody in those early days, your wife, a friend, who you confided in and say, listen, I got to bounce this off of somebody? It's like anything else. Walking around the block, doing it in front of the mirror is great, and maybe you think it's hilarious, but who did you go to and say, tell me what you think of this bit?
You talk to other comics, and before I was really had great relationships with comedians, I probably would just call my buddies or maybe bounce it off my wife and say, you think this is funny? But at that time I was just doing stuff, I was just writing random stuff, like pretty observational.
Right.
And then I started to realize like I need to talk about my life. And then I think that is when you start to grow. You start to write about different things. And
that's great.
Yeah.
We're going to be back in a couple minutes with Pat McGann. This is TalkNado. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back. I'm Tom Dignan. This is TalkNado. We're here with Pat McGann. We were just starting to stew some ideas, creative thoughts here. So, Pat's a stand-up comic, a stand-up comedian. Do you prefer comedian or comic? Is there a difference?
No, either.
I don't know.
Comedian, comic.
Like doctor, chef
Yeah.
type of thing. All right, so we talked a little bit about your writing process before, and I think, you said it yourself. It's a different thing than just going up there and being a funny guy. There's a set, there's material, there's a comfort zone. So how do you go about writing material?
I write like just things that are going on in my life, and it's almost like you grab your notebook and you start just jotting stuff down, and then there's things that just happen in life, and actually that probably is where I'm at now more than I used to. Like sit down and write, pen to paper. Now I'm like something funny happens, I might jot it down on my phone, and then like revisit it later, or think about it when I'm driving, or think about it when I'm out like walking or running. And then I'll go back and I'll write some more, and then I'll take it to the stage and I'll say it one way, and maybe I don't get the feedback that I want, and then I'll tweak it again. And so it's more of a process now than it used to be. I used to just like write, and then I was just like, that's a different voice when you just write versus like, sometimes when you're writing and then you get up and you're talking through in your head, then you kick into like a different voice, which is more conversational, usually more normal. But like an example, my wife was literally send me a text, was like, I'm hanging out with, she took our daughter out. We have a 3 kids, daughter, then 2 boys. And she texted me like, I'm staying out with Josephine. I'm gonna let you guys have some boy time. Well, my boys are 2 and 1. So I'm like, boy time. And I was kind of ticked off when she first sent me, but I was like, there's something here. So then I started a thing. I was like, boy time, like the little guy doesn't even know he's a boy. Like what are we gonna do? Boy time. It's like, cool, just text me when you're close so I can get rid of all the strippers and blow. It's like, what are we gonna do? Watch a game, throw the ball around? It's like, no, you're gonna stand on that chair and flick the light switch on and off, and the other guy gonna take all the Kleenex out of the box one by one. It's like, oh yeah, this is so fun hanging out with the fellas.
Yeah, me and the guys.
We gotta get out to Vegas.
Just like old times.
Yeah,
the boys.
That's like an example of something that just came your way, and I think that's what really it is now, is like you can't sit down with a notebook and just like write. I mean, it's good exercise, and it's definitely something you have to do a little bit of, but you really just gotta get out and live life, and then things just happen. Things just come up, like you take your kids to the zoo, like things are gonna happen, or go to your buddy's bachelor party, and a bachelor party at 40. How different is it now than it was when we were 20, 21?
A lot different.
So, I mean, I think that's what it is. But I do think it's your life. Like, I would never tell anybody what to write or where to find their material. But if you do talk about your life, you're going to always be original. It's going to be very difficult for someone else to take that material, or to be, because comics, sometimes, I don't think it happens as much as it used to, but people steal material. But if you're talking about your life, no one can steal that,
So do you find yourself having to like shut off comedian mode sometimes and not be
I do, man.
in every moment that you live?
I do, and I think I'm like less funny than I used to be. I am less funny off stage than I used to be, because I feel like I just go into that mode and I go up and I'm like a big, I mess around with everybody and I tweak people and then when I'm off, I never want it to seem like I'm trying to be funny. You're always on, or you're the funny guy. I just because you can smell that on people a lot. There's some comedians and some people that are in improv off stage, they're like trying constantly. And I think I've gone like maybe too far off of that, where off stage, I'm not trying to get a laugh all the time.
Right. I know how to, people are, well, you say, oh, well, sing for me. Well, I don't now, you just want me to start singing
Right.
you?
Yeah.
It is a strange, so do you still get that if people backed off from oh, funny guy, tell me a joke?
No, people do that a lot, and
Yeah.
it really annoys
So
me.
okay,
It's the worst.
funny guy, tell us a joke. What's your response?
I don't say anything. I'm not, I don't really have it. Do you have a joke? You tell me a joke.
I don't.
Right.
No, I'm not the funny guy here. I'm just hosting the show in front of a live studio audience of thousands.
It's like you never walk up to an attorney and be like, do a closing argument. Bring up I don't know. It's just, I feel like I'd rather, comics have this stereotype of being like introverts and being kind of awkward off stage. And I'm not that guy either, but I do think I'm not out socializing as much as I used to be.
Right.
So I'm not as comfortable as I used to be, because Friday, Saturday nights, I'm not out socializing at parties anymore.
Right. You're working.
So you do less of that. So those tools aren't as sharp maybe as they used to be, but I feel like always trying to be on is just something I'm aware of. So I probably am, like I said, not as funny off stage as I used to be.
And do you think that helps your stage persona then? Because you've got that clear delineation, okay, I'm just normal guy now. Now I'm show Pat. I'm comedian Pat.
A little bit, but I also don't want that either. It's like, I don't want to be like, oh, I just flick a switch and then I'm like, because then I want to be like, I want it to be me up there. I always feel like a comedian on stage is like the most exaggerated version of that person. There's some very, there's a line a thread that goes through that's very true, but you have to jump off a little bit further when you're on stage.
It's good stuff. I'm Tom Dignan. This is TalkNado. We'll be back with Pat McGann very shortly. Don't go anywhere. Hello, welcome back to TalkNado. I'm Tom Dignan here with my guest and a very good friend of mine, Pat McGann. We're talking stand-up comedy, so I'm going to be totally honest with you. We don't really care anything about the stand-up stuff you just told us. We want to know one thing. I want to know one thing. You were on the David Letterman show twice.
Yeah.
Correct? Twice?
Yeah.
As the stand-up comedian, the Letterman show. I mean, I don't know if we're zooming in on him for this, but he was on the Letterman show.
It's off the air now.
It's no longer.
He's on a show that doesn't
exist.
exist.
These guys don't even know. They're like, Dave Letterman. It's an alphabet show. First of all, how does that happen? When you get that phone call, do you think it's someone messing with you?
Well, it was an email, and it was it was a
me.
process.
I didn't need the actual. All right, go ahead.
No, it was. You know what? It ends up being the beginning of the process is the most unbelievable, because you start on this path and you're like, wow, they really want to build a set with me. And it took a long time. I was very close, I felt, with getting on Letterman, and then they changed bookers. So my contact was gone, and then all of a sudden I'm like, oh, I got to start over. So I was on the road. I was working a club in Ohio with another comic, and he happened to be one of Letterman's favorites, this guy named Nick Griffin. And Nick was like, I think Letterman people would like your stuff. They're new bookers. They're looking for comics. I'm going to recommend you. So that's in October. He recommends me. We start a process, and one of the jokes that was approved, they kind of started to backpedal on. I kind of got frustrated. I stopped corresponding for a couple months, sent another set in, left that joke in there. They may have forgotten. They liked it again, and finally I got an email one day. You're checking your email constantly when you are waiting for something like that, and maybe 3 weeks, a month later, email. Then he did call me.
Dave himself.
Not Dave, no. That's what my
At
mom.
any point
That's
Dave,
what my mom asked me.
I don't know.
David Letterman called you? No.
Hi, Pat. Dave here.
He doesn't book this. That's a good Letterman.
I practiced
That's
for
pretty good.
this. Yeah.
So then I got the call, and he was like, hey, do you want us to spring this on you, or do you want us to tell you when you're going to be on? And I said, no, just tell me. He's like, we're going to have you on in January. It's going to be the 3rd or 4th
So
week.
when was this?
This is in October.
So you had 4 months to sort of
to kind of like stew about it and think about it. And then I went out there, total like blur the first time I did it.
Oh, I can imagine, yeah.
I had the stage manager like tap me like, hey, it's going to be fun. This is a historic theater. The Beatles debuted here.
Right.
Ed
No
Sullivan
pressure.
Theater. It's like, oh yeah, thanks for putting that in my head. But the set went well. Yeah, you're much closer to David Letterman than you think when you go out there. Like on TV, it looks like, but he's really right there, on set. So you can hear him laughing at your jokes, and then you're like, wow, that's cool. Letterman just laughed.
Dave Letterman thinks that's funny.
So then, that first time was a blur. Second time it just kind of sprung on me. They called me on a Friday. They said, we like have you on next week. We think it's going to work out. Can you retape your set? Because I had submitted a set. Retaped it that Monday, sent it Tuesday morning, and we recorded it on that Thursday. So it was like, and I would happen to be out in New York City anyway. I had a gig out there, like a corporate gig. And then I was like, yeah, I'm going to be in New York anyway. This is perfect. They're like, yeah, come on Thursday.
I'll swing by and do that.
Yeah.
Tell Dave
Yeah, exactly.
Did you ever meet Dave? Did you talk to
I
Dave
did.
Letterman?
The second time, like each time, the only time I really talked to him was when he came over after my set and like shook my hand. The second time was more of a conversation, a little bit. They were taking my mic off, and he came over and said, "Hey, Pat, that's great. That's how you do it. Good job."
So he's a huge jerk, is what you're saying.
No
individual time.
He doesn't like come into some of these guys go into the green room and talk to you beforehand,
Right.
get a picture and all that. He doesn't do that. He didn't do that. But he was very genuine, very warm, and it was fun. I'm so fortunate I got to do it a second time. So lucky,
Right.
because I was able to enjoy it so much more. I was able to like really soak it in, and I was comfortable. I was a lot less nervous.
I have both of those sets still on my DVR if anyone would like to come
So
by
do I.
and check it out. I'm sure you do.
So do
I. So what did that do for your career? I mean, my first thought was I expected to see you and Adam Sandler and the whole gang in movies and stuff next, and you didn't do that for me.
Right,
so
right.
What does that do for your career?
Change your career in that sense. Like it used to be like, go on Carson and overnight it could change your career. It changed my career in a sense that it just allows me to headline more clubs. It allows me to, secure gigs that maybe I wouldn't get. It just brings you legitimacy, And if people are looking to hire someone and, the booker or an agent sends clips and my clip happens to be on Letterman, it helps.
It looks a lot better.
Yeah. So it definitely has helped in that sense. And, hopefully I'm trying to get on another late night show right now, actually. And I'm in a little bit of a set building process. And I'm checking my phone again, like I'm waiting because now that Letterman's gone, I want to get on another show.
Right.
So
Somebody who will maybe be there.
Yeah.
Next year, and so that's sort of. We're going to talk next about all these things, but is that the pinnacle of your career? Is that where you?
Definitely. Yeah. Yes, those two appearances for sure.
Did you ever, in your wildest dreams, think that would ever happen?
In my wildest dreams, yeah. I mean, that was it. That was the only show I was pursuing. That was the one I really, really wanted. I grew up watching Letterman, and it's been said, Jon Stewart's like he's our Carson,
right.
And he really is. He is just phenomenal. I can remember when he moved to CBS. I remember before that, my parents were big Letterman fans when he was on the Late Show on NBC, the later one after Carson, and so yeah, that was like if I had a goal. That was it.
You accomplished it, so now you can retire.
Right.
Everything's great.
It would make it easier to quit. Just to be able to like, I did that.
I'm done.
Yeah.
Hands off. Mic drop. All right, I'm Tom Dignan. This is TalkNado. We'll be back with Pat McGann in a little bit. Don't tell me that. Hello, welcome back to TalkNado. I'm Tom Dignan here with our guest, Pat McGann. So we left off talking about David Letterman, and we talked about evolution of your career and stuff. So let's talk about where you're at now.
I'm here, man.
You're here. This is the next pinnacle.
Riverside, Brookfield.
Good.
Which the view.
Isn't it amazing?
You wouldn't expect it from here.
Top 98th floor school.
It's fantastic.
It's very rare. It's a rare thing. So you are the host. What do you call the MC at Zanies?
MC. I don't do that as much as I used to.
Why not?
Because I'm on the road more, and I'm starting to headline that club, and I did that when I was starting out, and it that's where I really grew as a comic. I do it maybe once a year now.
Oh, okay. So you want to do it where you're the main guy for 4 days at X Club.
Yeah. And I do that because it's just, I need people to see me as that. I was really had put myself, a lot of people knew I was the house MC, especially in the Chicago area, the house MC at Zanies, and it was great. But now it's just I don't want to do that. I'm not doing it as much because I need to be, I want to be seen as just the host, which is unfortunately, it's a thing that people see, and the host is actually, should be an experienced comic, and it's a really important role. And I think Zanies does a good job of making sure that role is respected. But some people throughout the country would be like, oh, he's just a host or he's a house MC. Well, no, we need someone who's a headliner,
real. I mean, I've seen you a handful of times, and I always loved your MC. I mean, you're sort of off the cuff, and the interactions you called it tweaking before with the audience was always hilarious.
Oh, thanks, man.
What did you take from that experience that you were able to use in your act?
Well, I still do a lot of crowd work. Probably more than a lot of comics. I just love doing
turn
it.
their cell phones off. I know it's a big thing.
But sometimes, I just will start talking to people. I ask them questions, and then that is, you never get a laugh than you will when you get something that's in the moment. The crowd just knows it. It's such a different laugh. And I love doing my material, and that's what is going to allow me to do late night sets. You can't go on a late night show and do crowd work. But when it's live, in a club, I like doing it because it just it connects with the audience so much. So when you are headlining, and when I say headlining, you go to a club and it's host, middle, headliner. When you're a headliner, you kind of are doing all those things in your set. You go up and do 45 minutes. Well, your first part is kind of like you're hosting. You're breaking the ice, you're getting to know the crowd a little bit, then you go into material, and then the difference is you close. Closing is you got to close big, last 15 minutes of your set, 10 minutes. So being a house MC helped me just get comfortable on stage. I was doing, Zanies is open 7 nights a week. I was doing Tuesday through Sunday. My only night off was Mondays. I did that 1 year. I did it 9 months that year. I was doing so many shows, and it allowed me to catch up to a lot of people that had been doing stand-up longer than me because I was getting so much stage time. And sometimes I would leave Zanies and go do a show in Chicago, a late-night bar show or an open mic somewhere. So I was getting a lot of stage time.
So you're getting 45 minutes a set is what you do. That's a lot of time.
Yeah, now I do, yeah. And some of the corporate gigs, I have to do an hour, So yeah, it's a lot of time. I actually think that audiences these days, they rarely want more, It's attention spans are down, and I think that's true for most comics, unless you're dropping $100 to see Bill Burr or Louis C.K. A lot of, but people are paying you and they think we need an hour from you.
Right.
Well, I would argue that a solid 40, a great 40 is better than just a petering out 60 minutes because people just start to lose focus,
So while you're not on the road, or maybe while you are on the road, you are the host of The Cycle, which is a Chicago White Sox podcast. Tell us about that, because that's awesome. I'm a huge Sox
I've had
fan.
a great relationship with the White Sox the last several years. I've done a few things for them. We did a variety show with the players and the players' wives that I kind of wrote and worked with them on. I've done stand-up at a few of their events. And the White Sox are just you see it in the community. They're great, and they're great to people that they have relationships with. They hire all their past players and so they've been so good to me the last few years. So I pitched them this idea last year about this podcast, and it's really it's not inside baseball. It's talking to these guys or anyone that's coming through U.S. Cellular Field, throwing out the first pitch or doing the anthem, and we just sit down with them, we just talk to them. We just random questions, just about their life, about things that they do on the road, things that they do when they're not at the stadium. So we've had
baseball.
Yeah, we've had some great guests. We had Frank Thomas, who's a Hall of Famer. We had just had the commissioner of baseball on.
I saw that,
which was huge. I mean, that was a lot of fun. Rob Manfred, who was very nice. We just did one with Harold Baines. We did some with the new broadcaster Jason Benetti. So it's a lot of fun, and it's on iTunes and. It's on it's an MLB podcast, so it's cool just to be working with them.
It really is. All right, so we're going to be looking for your Sox podcast, The Cycle. Where else are we going to be looking for you as we wrap it up here? Where's Pat McGann going to be
I got a bunch of stuff coming up. I'm always at Zany's Rosemont, every few months. Zany's in the original Zany's in Old Town out in St. Charles. My website, patmcganncomedy.com. You can follow me on Twitter, and you always know where I am at.
I've heard about the Twitter. You have a huge show coming up this Saturday, don't you?
I do. And we have a great band that's going to be after us.
Music? Wait a minute. Comedy and music
Comedy
together?
and music. St. Al's.
St.
Palis.
Al's in Palis. Palis has always been known, needless to say, as a hotbed for comedy.
Well,
and
people
music.
ask me, has your career really taken off since the two Lettermans? No. No, I'm going to be at St. Al's in Palis.
With Joey Diggs and the dentist.
Right, with Joey Diggs and the dentist.
No,
it's going to be a lot of fun.
It is going to be a lot of fun.
And you guys are phenomenal, by the way.
Well, thank you.
I just want to say that.
I saw you at the show the other day,
Yeah.
a couple weeks ago, but then you cut out. You didn't stay to say hello to me.
Well, I got the kids, and you
mean,
were working.
well, when
I know not to bother someone, and they're up there doing their thing.
I bother you every time I come to one of your sets. I actually ask people, tell Pat McGann that Tom Dignan is here.
Yeah,
Is
right,
Pat
exactly.
here? Tell him Tom's here.
No, your band is phenomenal, and you've been great for years. So
I appreciate that.
yeah, it'll be fun this Saturday.
It is going to be fun this Saturday, and I definitely encourage everybody. Check out patmcganncomedy.com. Check them out on The Cycle, the White Sox podcast, which is a great podcast.
Yeah,
subscribe
download
to
it.
Download it. Subscribe to it. Send it on to your friends. Anything you want to leave us with? Could I be a stand-up comedian?
Yes.
How?
Well, you should watch this show. I pretty much just told everyone how to do it.
Right.
Aren't you listening? You gotta start writing. You get on stage. You just do it. You do something I couldn't do. I could probably never play guitar.
I could teach you. You could teach me to be funny, and I'll teach you to play guitar.
Yeah, let's do it.
This sounds like a great trade-off. Thank you very much, everybody, for TalkNado. I'm Tom Dignan. This is Pat McGann, stand-up comedian extraordinaire. Check him out at The Cycle, Chicago White Sox podcast, patmcganncomedy.com. Look him up on the Zany's schedule, and anywhere you want a great laugh, Pat McGann may be there.
Well, thanks for having me, man.
Thank you very much. I'm Tom Dignan. This is TalkNado. We'll see you next time.